that old man got the tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit
it! Hey, everybody. Welcome to Creator Spotlight. I haven't done one of these in a while myself, so I'm a little bit rusty here. This is the show where we get together with some of those great creators of Star Wars collectibles, and we have a fantastic one here tonight. We're being joined by Ethan of Merlin Models. Hey, Ethan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Outstanding. Really thrilled to have you on the show tonight. I've been watching and pre-ordering what you've been releasing, and it's really making me excited about these studio scale models. So looking forward to having that conversation.
Steve, awesome. I think this might have actually changed your opinion on studio scale models a little bit.
Yes, I think I agree. Chris, right? We were just saying this.
Yeah. I was talking to Chris the other night, not to get too far off on a tangent right out the door, but you know, historically, when I look at model kits, I see a billion different pieces, really rough finish and whatnot, and I look at that and I'm like, oh man, I just don't want to put that thing together. I don't want to go through all the hassle of what I'm seeing there. You know, it's probably left over from when I was a kid and I screwed up every model kit I ever put my hands on, right? And then I started seeing what was coming out of your kits, Ethan. A lot fewer pieces, a very crisp, clean looking, and it just looks to me like, oh wow, I could probably build that as opposed to the traditional model kits that I see elsewhere. So really, that got me thinking a lot more about doing it. And plus, I think I know a couple good painters now. that I can hand that work off to have do the job, because I certainly aren't any good at painting either. So yeah,
right on. Yeah, there's quite a few of them out there, and we do some as well. We'll always take on a couple of commissions. I think we've got like.
Oh, no kidding.
It's not public knowledge. I guess it's public knowledge now.
Public knowledge now.
Yeah, 23 people know about it now.
Very, very, very limited. Like whenever we get them all in next spring, when I paint up the ones that we're going to keep in the studio, I will paint, I think, 5 other ones. So if 5 people want to get in on it that are United States shipping, want to have us do the paint work, then I'll paint all of those at the same time. Probably do a video because it'll look cool.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I've been painting for 25 years, so I think I can handle it.
Yeah. Have you been doing models for painting studio scale models for 25 years?
Not studio scale, just all kinds of models.
Okay.
So I started in military models, just like probably most everybody who gets into that side of the hobby. Did some contests and stuff in high school, won some contests, and then moved to figure painting and collecting like 75 millimeter and 90 millimeter figures, like the historical medieval knights and stuff like that, because I wanted more of a challenge with the figures, because I always loved doing diorama work and telling a story with model creating back when I was younger. So I got into doing a lot of figure painting, and then got into collecting board games, which gave you much more figures. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that hobby that's just exploded over the past couple of years with Kickstarter. And now I've got thousands of miniatures that I could spend forever painting. But I always wanted to make my own model kits, like from the very beginning. I never thought that it would possibly be something that would actually be self-sustaining or bring in enough income to support a person, much less 2 people, or make a company out of it. But that was something I always wanted to do. I wanted to do the art for art's sake. I guess a lot of people want to do that. But my college education was in CGI work and animation work and character work for video games and movies. Okay. So that's where I got my start. And then I started working for a design firm doing architecture stuff, and did that for 12 years before starting my own studio doing the same thing. So my primary company does architectural visualization and a bunch of CGI work in that industry. But we've always messed around with 3D printing, and I've always designed, anything that I needed that was extra and printed it myself, for many, many years. So when COVID happened and our architectural company went into a coma, I was just thinking, like, what could I possibly do in the meantime, to earn some money, but really like try to do something that I really, really wanted to do. And I had purchased a couple of studio scale kits, and this will be my familiarness with Steve's issue was I purchased some studio scale kits, and the quality of the castings and just how everything goes together just was not what I thought it was going to be. And I really, really wanted to have these big, awesome kits to display, just like regular collectibles that you'd buy for the figures and stuff. And there just wasn't anything that I would consider like top level quality. There was great detail, there's great accuracy out there, but the production, the technology that's being used is just like not fantastic in a lot of ways. And I won't say that for everybody, but just from some of the models that I experienced. So I was like, I could do this better. I could figure out how to do this better because we can 3D model anything. It's just a matter of figuring out how to, use 3D printing and all the other, new technology to be able to create the models. So I started with Anakin's Pod Racer and spent the whole summer of COVID modeling that. And then my partner, Justin, started work on the Tantive pretty soon after that. And those were our first two big projects before we went into a bunch of speeders and some other stuff. And the original intention was to say, okay, let's do this with 3D printing. So I reached out to 3D printers around the world, trying to figure out how to get costs for that and, produce quality products. I bought 5 massive 3D printers for the house. And that's where I think the first Blockade Runners were released. Were home prints that we individually cleaned ourselves. I mean, it was a mess. Yeah, it took forever to clean them. We had a sandblaster in the garage that was just, it wasn't a super expensive one, so you couldn't see inside when you were sandblasting the parts. But sandblasting does work if you don't know that for 3D printing stuff to clean them off. So we went through that whole process last Christmas time, releasing our own stuff. Then I found a 3D printer overseas that could print prototypes decently. There's a couple of companies that still use those 3D printing people. But over the course of a few months, we found that prints themselves are just not a stable product. They're very, very thermal reactive. A couple of very, very large pieces that I experimented with came back completely warped just in shipping because of the heat from being in the aircraft. Mm-hmm. So they have to be packaged extremely well. They're extremely brittle. They're more brittle than your general purpose resin. So it's just a very fragile product. Now, it's really cool because you don't have to worry about the casting. So you can make pipes that go everywhere with gaps and holes. And, you could say, okay, I just want this kit to be separated however I want, as long as it fits together, and it can just go get printed. And they can figure out how to clean it off and all that kind of stuff. And, it'll look good.
What material can you? I may have missed it. What material are they made out of? The casting.
3D printing resin is just it's
resin.
A brittle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a brittle resin. And resin's just a general term for plastic. But it's a very brittle, dry plastic. Okay. Is what
the reason why I ask is because I noticed how crazy well you guys pack your models, and I was looking at them like, why? I mean, first of all, it was really impressive. I'd like to see that much care taken on a lot of products that we buy, right? But then I was like, why are they packing these things so well? Usually I'm used to parts, and I know nothing about this stuff, honestly. Yeah. Okay, I'm just kidding, but I'm used to like parts in a bag, right? And they're banging up against each other, and so here we have each one is with cut foam. Nice and protected, and I was kind of wondering why that is. It's really interesting to learn that about.
Yeah, that's because the 3D printing stuff is very fragile, especially with any type of knocking around or movement or shipping.
Yeah.
Or something.
So Ethan, you're printing these parts and then casting them, and then sending resin casts that are cleaned up. Is that the process you're doing?
This is just my history. We haven't gotten to the walker or the new production technology. So
I
this is straight up
under
prints, no casts.
I think Steve's under the impression that it's that we're getting a 3D printed like AT-AT or something like that.
Not now. For these two projects, you were getting casted parts. But for when we originally started the company, we wanted to do just 3D printing.
Oh, yeah.
That was during the time of like the pod racers and that's okay. I remember that because you're going back like a year.
We sent out the pod racer was 3D printed and sent out as 3D prints. And we wanted to do that where it was just print on demand. Like you get an order, I can just send that off to my guy, he prints it off, and then ships it back overseas to me. I can make sure it's all good and then send it to the customer. We don't have to worry about bulk buying and all that kind of stuff. It was just a price. It was very, very, very expensive, but we were able to do it. But again, the problem that we found out was that it's not a viable solution for a quality product. It's just a viable solution for easy from a design aspect where I don't have to worry about separating the parts or being super careful with engineering, hiding pipes and stuff like that and filling in gaps and making sure that grates are open at a certain angle so that, silicone can come out, all that kind of stuff. So we stopped last spring doing 3D printed parts and just started to use our 3D printers for prototyping. And that's when we decided to do the Walker project. And Justin designed the Walker project. We had some help from some very lovely people in the groups that sent us some amazing photos and some really, really good stuff from the farm, as well as measurements and stuff like that. And then we had people double check the work and all that stuff to make sure it was super accurate. But then we made the prototype that you saw, the orange one in the videos. That's 3D printed with our own custom resin. But then we send those files overseas and they print them in wax where they can clean the parts to like a perfect finish. And the wax printers are very, very, very tight in tolerance. So it's like, it's the same product same printers that people use to make everything. Like all sculptures are 3D printed. All regular items that you buy in the store are 3D printed. All the Hasbro stuff that you see is 3D printed. That's all of it's mastered in wax, and then they make them.
I was going to say like the orange AT-AT, for example, high-end jewelry and watches are actually used in that wax-based prototype. So that was interesting to see, and I think that's where you get some of the. And the reason why I pointed that out is because you're talking like minuscule detail, really fine detail, and like the smallest of areas.
Yeah, and again, because it's this wax material, they can go in and say, if something doesn't quite work or doesn't quite fit, they can actually go in there and carve it out and adjust it because it's wax versus being a plastic print. So then they take those wax pieces and then those get molded as the masters for being cast. And then, our philosophy is we don't want anything to come out as poor products. So the next thing to go was going to be the brittle resin. We could do brittle resin for half the cost and pocket that money. But we decided that polyurethane, where it's a real plastic object, is the best possible solution. And then there's even some ABS stuff thrown in there, which is a very hard plastic, very durable plastic that they use for machining gears and things. But polyurethane was going to be the ultimate choice. So we went to Smooth On here in Texas, and we test cast different types of polyurethane to try to find which one is going to give us the right type of consistency and material feel and stuff like that we wanted. And then we sent those specs overseas for them to match that. So that's the quality that you see in the actual plastic material. So it's not something that if you drop it, it's going to shatter. It's a legit piece of plastic, and it's got some flexibility to it. So there's a little bit of leeway on some of the thin parts where they're not going to snap off in half and stuff like that. Super high quality.
Is it still workable? Is it still workable that if you want to alter something or change something while you're building it, you can shave it off or Dremel it down?
Think of it like injection molded plastic that you would see in a model kit. That's going to be more similar to what it's like.
Okay.
Those are a thermoreactive polyurethane. I think this might be a little bit less brittle than injection molded plastic.
Okay.
But yes, it's going to be workable. It's just not going to be like stone where it just can kind of crumble or
right.
It's not as easy to sand because it's not as brittle, but again, it's so much stronger, so much denser. The detail's a heck of a lot better. Basically, everything about it is better. So that's kind of the basis for our company is saying, whatever we make, it's going to be high quality. And it goes down to even all the little parts. Like most things that you buy now, like 3D printers and other mechanical pieces, all have these little black screws. That's kind of the norm, is you could buy the little Allen wrench black screws for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're some sort of alloy, but it's not a very strong alloy. I don't know if they're aluminum or whatever, but that's what we used to build the prototype. And we were noticing that they could strip out pretty easily. So we're like, well, that's not going to be something that we would use, even though everybody in the industry uses them. If I buy a $5,000 3D printer, it's made with these black screws. But we decided to take the extra price cut on our side and go with stainless steel, made in America screws for everything on the walker. So there's no way it can strip. It's going to last forever.
Cool.
And that's kind of the process that we went. So everything's either brass or stainless steel as far as the metal parts go. And then you've got your high quality polyurethane plastic. The base is all acrylic, which is pretty neat with that light up feature. And that was our first foray into starting to do custom bases. And I think that's just going to keep on progressing as we go. And we learn how that company can make stuff, because, we're still learning about what their capabilities are.
So I think you'll quickly find out that I don't know what I'm talking about. Chris and Jason know a hell of a lot more than I do. So if I'm assembling these kits, am I screwing them together? Am I gluing them together? What am I doing?
So for the walker, there is some gluing involved for some of the tiny pieces, some of the smaller pieces. But because the whole thing is posable, which is what makes this walker especially so incredibly unique, all of the legs go together with screws. The feet press in, so you don't have to glue those if you wanted to. I think somebody was talking about even putting some springs underneath the feet, and then I think you could attach like a cable or a string underneath, so that then.
So that would give it almost like a tension fit, so to speak.
You could do that with the foot pad. So if you lifted up the foot, then the foot pad would come out, and then you could press it back in. So people are going to be able to customize that if they want to. Like the toes hinge, so that's just a pin that presses in.
Yeah.
So the entire leg mechanism is fully posable.
If I could interject for a second, Ethan. So what I'm picking up on now, and I feel like I should have presumed this sooner with all the details that were already put out there, as we're moving forward along in the conversation, basically what I'm hearing is this is sort of the first time we're seeing, I guess what you would, I don't want to use the term garage kit, but let's just say that for lack of a better term, that is basically, or a custom garage kit that's basically the same as if you were to walk into a model shop and buy a Tamiya kit off the shelf, open it up, and everything is, highly detailed, and accurately made, so it all fits together like, peanut butter and jelly. This way, part A goes to part B without having to heat it up with hot water or a heat gun or sanding or drilling. So, that's always been the way of, in Steve's question, Pickle, that's always been the way of having to sand things down, drill through things, or not just taking away, but also adding. Sometimes there's things that don't fit where you have to add to it. You have to make more of the model by adding putty and shaping it and sanding it and
filling gaps, right?
Filling gaps, holes, all this
Big
stuff,
gaps.
air bubbles. So basically what we're getting is this is the equivalent of if it was a package kit that you just break the pieces off and put together.
Well, let me just say on top of it, when I think of a package kit, I think of cutting parts off of sprues.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about? All right.
Yeah, this would be minus the sprues. Yep.
And then filing down the remembrance of the sprue that are on the part, right? Which sometimes screws up the part. You can get stress marks on the part too if you don't do it right, like a moron, like I would, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm not using the right tools to cut it from the screw from that. So what I'm hearing is all that shit is gone.
Yeah.
And a lot
For
of
the most part.
Plus, this is opposable. Like most kits are opposable.
Yeah.
You really can't.
So to think this through, it's pretty much foolproof.
There might be a gap here and there. The kit is perfect, but there's always going to be tolerance when you cast with silicone. But the way that we're defeating that is the company that we're using is so masterful in how they do things. They made it clear that, generally speaking, when a garage person is going to make molds for a kit, they're going to use that mold until it is dead. it is completely dead. There are people. I think I might have gotten some castings that were from molds that are like 15 years old or something like that before, and that's where you get lots of these little bubbles and weird texture areas and
little pieces of the mold go along with it.
Yeah, lots of the times you're gonna get big chunks of the mold,
Silicone,
or big sprues, or something might be a little bit warped because the more that you peel the mold, the less likely it is to fall back into place. So to defeat that, you make more molds, and that's basically what we're doing here too. Is they're only casting maybe 9 at the most. He said at the absolute most they cast 9 pulls from a mold before that mold is dead. So every single piece is going to come out exactly the way that it's supposed to, which is a really, really cool thing. So, built into that cost, basically, if we produce our full load of kits, which for the Walker we're definitely going to do, they're making 10 sets of molds or 9 sets of molds before they even begin, just to make sure that every single piece comes out exactly the way it should. Now, there is going to be some drilling involved. There are some holes that we cannot cast because you just can't run the silicone all the way through. But I think it's just on the feet that you have. There might be some drilling, and I'm still working with them to see if they can do some pre-drilling for us. But it's really just going to be like opening up a couple of holes that you would need to interlock a piece that they had to close off just for the casting purposes.
And there won't be like flashing from the castings that you'll have to trim off or anything like that.
Correct. That's also something. So from what I gather, and I don't know this 100% for sure, I'm pretty sure. Not only, they're going to clean off the flashing and stuff like that, but I think they also go through a trimming and polishing process. So they actually trim off the pour spout or the pour sprue, and then clean up that edge, and then also polish every single piece and clean every single piece before it gets packed, because that's what they do for producing collectibles. So my expectation is that we're going to get that too. If we don't, that's just an extra caveat, but they're going to be really, really clean no matter what, even if you have to clip off the little pour piece, which is super, super tiny. But I think my expectation from what we talked about is that these pieces should come like ready, like no extra work where, you open your box and you're like, this is going to take me 3 weeks of cleaning without breaking anything, hopefully, just to get it prepped to start putting it together. Ours is you open the box, let's sit down and let's build something.
That's a daunting part of doing models.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm thinking, to answer the question that just showed up on the screen that was really quick.
Sorry, I'll get the pickup.
To fully assembled, like for us, it would take us an afternoon or less. Just a couple of hours. We'll have a video as soon as we get the casted pieces on how to put it together. For somebody who's never done it before, I would still say maybe a day. It's not snap together, but again, because the Walker itself is posable, you have a lot of just putting some threaded inserts and things and epoxying those in, and then you're screwing a bunch of stuff together. And then it's just like, okay, well, the neck goes in here, and then the head goes on the neck, and then the body goes over the top, and then you've got a couple little pieces to glue here and there, and you're ready. You're ready to paint.
And Ben, I'm sorry, Steve, I was going to say, when Ben just asked, so we're actually going to pull some pictures up in a bit, actually pretty soon, and we'll go through them so you get a better idea. I know everybody's kind of just listening in intently, as Sean said, so going over a lot, but it's one of these things where, Chris, I think I can say, both seriously and with humor, this is almost something that Matt could put together, right?
I don't know about that.
Am I pushing it?
You're pushing it. You're definitely pushing it. Yeah.
You're so mean, Jason. Sorry, man.
I was being serious. Like,
no doubt about it.
It seems like all the prep work has been 90% of the prep work has basically been done for you. And as somebody who does models, Chris, you do models. Ethan, you've been doing them for as long as, like you said, 20 plus years, and you wanted to find a way to, bypass all those archaic steps. Now, some people look at that as, fun and part of the process, but other people who want these pieces in their collection and don't have the resources, the tools, or the time may find that to be very overwhelming and just very intimidating. So
it is overwhelming and intimidating even for somebody who does models regularly. It is.
Yeah.
Well, I did catch one thing, however. I heard threaded inserts. So I have a lot of experience with threaded inserts in woodworking. So it sounds to me like these, there's just a smooth hole. You drop them in and you epoxy them in, or do they have to? You don't have to tap the hole or anything like that. They just drop right in.
Yeah. We got custom brass inserts made that are just press fit. So
press fit. Okay.
Bigger. So all you got to do is just put some epoxy in there, pop your threaded insert in there, and then now you have a spot for your screw that's not going to snap or break.
Yeah. Okay.
Total weight fully assembled. The last count that I got, which was before we went through some changes, was 5 kilos, and that's because the underbelly, the two nodules on the underbelly were cast solid. They hadn't figured out a way to do any hollow casting. You can't hollow cast polyurethane. You can only hollow cast brittle resin. So those are solid resin, and then also the actual underbody shell, that long piece, is solid brick of resin as well. I've talked to them about putting some micro balloons inside those castings, which is just a very, very fine kind of little foam powder, I guess it would be, but it can reduce the weight by half. So, because my goal was to make it like 3 kilos. For all the Americans watching, that's about what, 10, 11 pounds? Yeah, what is it? So 5 kilograms would be like, maybe 11 pounds. Which is a little heavy for what I wanted. But again, it's just because of those 3 parts. So we're working on reducing that weight because I would like it to be about 6 or 7 at the most.
But for an AT-AT, I mean, we're talking about a decent sized piece. It's one of those things where it wouldn't be surprising to have a little bit of weight to that because it is hefty, you know.
I like the idea of it being heavy, except for shipping. Other than that, I'm happy. I'm happy for it to be heavy. Right?
No, you really don't, Steve.
It's easy. United States shipping is awesome. It's only going to be like $60 for both the base and the model. So 2 separate boxes, $30 each.
That's amazing.
That was the last quote. But unfortunately for international shipping, the crisis makes it awful for them.
Steve, the reason why you don't want it to be heavy is because then you have to worry about the weight on the legs and supporting it. So then the legs won't bow and this and that. So
that's so is that an issue with these, given what they're made out of and the fact that they're screwed together, Ethan?
No, there's no issue with the bowing. I mean, our current model is that heavy because the 3 printing resin is just as heavy as what they were saying, and there's no flex or anything in that. They did put metal in the legs to keep them from bending, so that's cast into the legs.
Nice. Rebar. That's great.
Basically like rebar if you're like pouring concrete.
Rebar.
So the legs have metal inside the legs. So that's going to help with that. And then again, we're just going to try to reduce the weight of those 2 pieces.
Ethan, if I could ask, I asked you in the comments earlier when this first was advertised. The inside of the main body is hollow, right? Is there any cross sections inside to keep the shape of it, or is it completely empty? Because I want to do something where I put some snow troopers inside of it. Okay. That's why I was wondering, like, what's inside the main body.
I think you could. So we don't have photos of the main body that's being cast today, but there's basically some vertical supports just going down the sides, and then there's some angled ones up at the very top, and that's what holds its shape from being super flexible.
Okay.
And that also gives you support for your underbelly to attach to the underside.
Okay.
But as far as the interior of the head and the interior of the body, they're completely open. Now, the head you want to be as lightweight as physically possible because there's a triple joint for posing the neck.
Yeah.
The more we put on that, you could get some sag, but we are making those neck pieces out of ABS. Those are cast out of the strongest plastic possible, so there should be no bending there. But I would not put a full interior in the head or anything like that. I wouldn't go crazy with head stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to
So since we're talking so much about it, I'm going to go ahead and share the pictures of the AT-AT that you sent me now.
Yeah, we got our first castings last night of the real thing, so super excited.
All right, so let's just make sure we got that, and then here we go. All right, so we'll start off with the final pose. I love this. I love this downed AT-AT pose. I think it kind of really you're really showing off what it's possible to do with your model, and there's no cutting or anything like that. If I wanted to, I could pose this upright by, I guess, loosening the screws and reposing it.
No, you just loosen the screws. So underneath all of those joints, there's a cap covering every single one, but you just pull that cap off, and then there's a screw underneath. You just loosen up the screw, and it'll basically give you the ability to separate the two gears without even having to take the screw all the way out. And then you just kind of ratchet it into position whichever way you want to, and just lock it back.
So kind of like the toys we grew up with from Hasbro, huh? The way the legs. Yeah.
We wanted to keep it super simple and something that would work and be strong. Yeah. So it's just it's interlocking gears. They're big gears. I think it's 5-degree increments, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's either 5 or 10 degrees increments that you can rotate it. But I mean, it's plenty enough for any type of posability that you'd want as far as walking or crash poses. And then the neck has triple joints, so you can go side to side 2 different ways and then up and down. So that gives you a lot of flexibility there. And of course, the neck itself is made out of rubber.
We all know what Matt would say if he was here.
It's kind of it's a long going joke of ours. Don't worry about it.
We get silly and stupid sometimes. But as we go through the pictures, just so people know, for those who purchase the kits or have not yet purchased the kits, which you still have the chance to do, and we'll mention where and how in a little bit. But unless you've already purchased the kit and you're part of the Discord, this will be your first time seeing some additional images outside of what's already been shown with the AT-AT kit. So that's going to be pretty exciting to see, some of the kit parts as they're, in the finished form.
Yeah. So when I'll pull up the first one here. All right.
And this just gives a good example of how clean.
Yeah.
That is.
There are those gears that you were talking about, right?
Yep. So those are the two opposing gears that the ankle and then the hip would lock into, and then there's a cap on the back and a cap on the front, and they just screw together. So
Ethan, as I'm seeing this, right, this is pretty much, if I'm unpacking it, this is pretty close to what I'm receiving, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm not doing all the work to get it to this level for assembly.
No, that would be the piece that you would see. So if you look at the piece that says FR, where you get the little bit of flashing, so like that piece would be cleaned before it even gets shipped. So you would get one that's nice and clean like this.
And even if, and that's, I mean, not to say that will be, but even if for people who are new to this and looking into this kit as like a first time thing, flashing at that level is so thin that you could literally just push it with your thumb and flake it off. You don't need any tools or Dremels or anything, but the fact that you're getting it like this is, I mean, it's like you're assembling a puzzle. That nobody's done this yet, and this is fantastic.
Yeah, really neat. Let's go on to the next one here. So these are mount. What are they connected to here?
This is I don't know what this is. This top part on the right hand side might be the pour spout for the mold itself. So they might still be connected at this point. But this is the bottom of the foot pad.
Right. So, but they're not going to be. This is, I guess. Did you get pictures from the factory? Is that what this is?
This is uncleaned from the factory. So you attach to this piece once you get it. So the plan is, as soon as they finish casting stuff tonight, then hopefully they go through their cleaning process, hopefully very quickly, and then I'm hoping by Friday we can get them in the mail, and then we're going to do a 2-day shipment on the parts and pay to get them here super quick, so that next week we can build a model. That's our plan. So we should be able to see a finished AT-AT tomorrow or next week.
Right. Okay. Wow, that'd be very cool.
Now, Ethan, with mentioning that brings a question to mind for me. As they come in, is there going to be a quality control process where, every couple of kits get checked just as like a quick once over to make sure things are good, or is it
make sure every piece is there too?
We're packing every single one ourselves.
You guys, okay. So there's the answer.
It would be too expensive to get them pre-packaged and boxed, as well as all of the other extras that you're getting, all of the screws and the wires and the collectible coin and the stand and all that stuff is all coming from different places.
Okay, but
So-
it's beneficial that you're doing it because you
Yeah.
can basically you can stop or circumvent any headaches of people receiving things and being, hey guys, this is missing or this came in this way. Ahead of time what's going out and how it's going out. So that's actually it's beneficial.
A checklist that we have to physically like check off and sign.
All right,
That
fantastic.
I'm all for.
We're going to go through the full quality production and everything. Like my living room is going to look like a crazy warehouse, putting
So
everything
Jason.
together in boxes. But that's how you make sure it gets done.
So anybody who has any hesitation or apprehension, this is where you want to go. And any kits left, especially I think the AT-AT's, close to pretty sold out, pretty close to being sold out. Yeah, jump on it now because
Jason, say from experience, we can both say it's so nice that there's going to be like a checklist and all the pieces are there. So you don't have to go searching. You don't have to try to get pieces that weren't included in the kit. That's such
we shared some
relief.
stories in the Slave One build, Ethan, where we were just, man, you couldn't write this stuff. It was just crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, we want to try to prevent that. I mean, there's always going to be a mistake. I'll say that we're all human, but we're going to do everything that we can beforehand to make sure that does not happen. And I think both of us are really good at counting. So as long as we take our time, like most of the extra stuff is going to be packed and ready to go before we even get this stuff in, at Christmas time or January, just because we don't want to do it all at once and have a chance of making a mistake. While we've got the time, we're going to start packing up all the screws and the nuts and the bolts and the brass and, all of that stuff will be pre-packaged and ready to go. So it's just nice and easy for us to put together. Yeah. Look at this. I mean, that is just crazy. It's crazy how they could even cast something like that without me having to take all the pieces off. But we're so happy they could.
Ethan, did you choose this color for the casting? Yes. Okay, because it's pretty close to what the color is, like what the AT-AT color is. I mean,
yeah, it's not far off. I mean, it's just a nice neutral gray. I mean, for me personally, I know that everybody usually likes gray, right? And if somebody wasn't going to paint it, at least it would look good. Mm-hmm. My personal choice is to get everything cast in a very strange color, because then once you prime it, you know that it's primed.
Yeah, that's true. That helps.
That's for me personally as a painter. But some people are not going to paint theirs; they're just going to put it together. So gray is the preferred color.
Now, if I could ask, okay, so when you're designing this, were you using like kit parts as reference to kind of get it as accurate as possible?
Yeah, we used kit parts. We double checked it with some kit parts that we didn't have originally, and then we also had a full set of photos that have been circulated around from the really grungy looking one that somebody owns. So we had all those photos, but then we also had a set from the museum, from the farm, that was a full 360 degrees around a pristine animatronic version. Okay. So we had a lot of different types of photos that we were able to use to check.
Nice.
Again, and that one was really, really clean. But
I know a lot of people won't know that, if it's completely accurate or not, but it is nice to know that there is a lot of care put into having it as accurate as possible using the donor.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll never say, and I don't think anybody can say that you're 100% accurate, right? I mean, because we are still using photos. We don't have the original bucks that were used to even make the shell, all that kind of stuff. But I think we can say with all consistency that we're in the high 90s.
Cool.
And awesome. it took some revisions to get there. There was some stuff that was weird even after we made the prototype that we went back and fixed. And it's all because of the generous researchers. It's those guys, the ones that collect the model kit parts. I mean, they're the ones that allow us to be able to do something really cool like this. And the same thing in the future is, for the kits that we need, that we want to make, it's because of those guys that we're able to do it to the highest degree of accuracy. Because we can get photos, but as far as getting the actual good close-up pictures of the kit parts,
it makes a big difference.
It's an awesome thing when they're willing to help.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, and I mean, they're the unsung heroes of our ability to do this kind of stuff. So
awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, this looks really good. This looks really, really good.
Yeah, so this is one of those parts that I was telling you was originally cast just pure solid, and I'm not sure if the prototype is still cast solid. We'll find out when it ships. But the goal is to get this to where the internal structure is using those micro balloons to reduce that weight tremendously, so that it's not bearing down so much.
That's the Harrier engine, Jason.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep, yep. Both front and back of it.
Huh. From a
That
Harrier,
part there, it's free. Yeah, it's from the Harrier. That part there isn't on so many Star Wars models. It's on the Sandcrawler. It's on the Slave One. It's on a couple. That alone.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah,
it must have been a pretty.
You start to recognize just after you build it.
Yeah, right. That must have been a pretty big scale Harrier for that to be that big.
It's what is it? 112? I think it's 112.
Wow.
It's a big piece. I just bought the kit, so yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yep.
This is nuts. Look at this thing.
Yeah, that's so cool. There's so many like battleship pieces on there, and
but all one piece. That's beautiful.
Yeah. We were able to get it all as one piece, and we didn't lose any accuracy doing that. That's the cool thing. We didn't have to reduce any quality to be able to get it to work that way, which is awesome.
Well, that's what I was looking at, the line work, and I don't see any compromises here as far as like the finer detail, because you'll know from experience too, Ethan, like as you prime something, you paint something, you're going back over and you're scratching those lines back into the paint, and you're reiterating those lines, and the detail here is really pristine. Wow.
Yeah,
it really gives a different perspective. Looking at it and talking about it gives a whole different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one of those guns. And you can see some of the smaller screws with some of the smaller pieces.
Yeah.
To the side.
Even the clean indentations. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
This is wild.
Very nice work, Ethan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean it's a team effort for sure. So one of the other cool features is all of those pistons for the legs, because the legs, the ankle has a full, I wouldn't say, I don't know what you call it, 270 degrees field of movement. I mean, it can't turn all the way over on itself, but it can move in a circle all the way around. That's how we set it up. So it's got internal gearing. You can switch it back and forth, side to side. So the pistons actually are designed to work. And then you've also got your two head gun barrels as well. And originally we were going to include a 2-scale card, and then all the brass that you needed to be able to cut your pieces. But in the end, we decided to spring the extra bucks and have them pre-cut for every single person, from the factory. So they cut all of those brass pieces for us. So we don't have to worry about anything being off by a little hair or bending your brass, which is so easy to do when you're trying to cut something.
Cutting brass tubes is not fun. I don't like doing it.
No, and it's like super hard to find these little brass cutters.
The proper cutters,
yeah.
So you can do it nice and clean, yeah. Because I mean, you can cut the brass, but it's just you want it nice and smooth and clean, and that just adds more work. The fantastic part about the posability, everybody has this mindset of like, oh, I can assemble, paint it, and pose it this way, but I don't think anybody's, they're taking for granted that, ability, but I don't think anybody's thinking about the fact that like, hey, if you have it on display for a year and you decide you want to do something different with it, you can repose the thing. I mean, it's not stuck even though it's posable, it's not stuck static in that pose that you choose. You can then, if it's crashed, you can pick it up. If it's picked up, you can repose it. And
the only thing that I was thinking about with that is Ethan mentioned earlier that there are caps over the screws. And so the thought, not knowing anything, but my immediate thought was, well, if you've painted over the cap, well then, if you have to loosen the screw to repose it, do you have to cut the cap off?
No, actually.
No.
So in the video, we're going to show you a special glue that is a basically sticky tack glue. So once it dries, it just makes the two sections removable adhesive, just like it was a sticker.
So enough to hold, but the ability to remove.
Yeah. So basically, we'll just turn it into a sticker almost, where it's tacky on this side and then tacky on the leg, and then it fits inside of its little hole. So it could technically balance there, or you could glue it. But if you're just using this reusable adhesive glue, then it'll just stick there. So then whenever you're ready, you just pull it off, repose it, and then stick it right back on, and it'll stay there.
I need that right now.
I mean, you guys basically, you really thought this thing through. It wasn't just, hey, we want to make model kits. We're going to do, like, you thought of, so every time there was a roadblock or a piece of red tape, you sat and thought this, okay. So this is really getting interesting of how much detail, and it's hard because, you know, Chris, you know yourself as well, as somebody who works on models and knows about the modeling world. This is you know, so outside the box that, you know, some people may just be like, oh, that's cool, I like the simplicity of it, you know, it's great, but like, no, this is the wow factor. I mean, you guys have really thought about it all. And that was a great question, Steve, because you're right. Here I am thinking, oh, you have the posability. You can change it up every month, every 6 months, every year, however you want. Add pieces. You know, if you have a chicken walker or whatever for your Hoth scene, you can move it around. And then you're like, well, what happens if it's painted? Is it kind of static? But the fact that you guys thought it all, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's even some magnets in there too. So the undercarriage of the head can come off. And we designed that to where it can attach with magnets, so that you can take that off and put it back on. And the original idea was so that you could get inside at the neck posing part and separate it, so you can pull the head off and then just pose the neck and put the head back on. But we figured out ways to circumvent that, so you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. But it's still nice to be able to take the bottom off the head. You could always test if you wanted to put some LEDs in there and see if it'll hold the weight, because now it's hollow and you can remove it. Same thing with the back. On the body shell, the big body shell, that back section can come off with magnets so that you can actually take the shell off if you needed to move your model. So we're hoping that there's no tolerance gap there, but if there is a little bit of crack, then you can still glue it in place. But the intention is that you can just set that in there with magnets, and then if you never needed to take the top off, it'd be super easy to do. So
nice. Oh wow, okay. This is a big difference. This is where printers don't do something justice.
Yeah.
Is this the light up one, or is this the?
This is the light up one. Yeah.
Oh,
this is the premium base. So it's got LEDs on the inside with a dimmer switch on the back, so that you can increase or decrease the amount of intensity based upon it being standing or crashed. That was another thing, is if the LEDs were always on full blast and you put it in the crash pose, it's too bright. So maybe put a dimmer on there so that you could dim it down when it's in the crash pose, so that it still lights it up nice without overpowering it.
So does this come with the standard kit?
This is the upgrade. This is the upgrade base with the LED kit. The standard the next one, which is almost the same thing, and just have no LEDs, and then it's got a little bit different.
Okay.
Corner pieces.
And Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the upgrade's only $50, right?
Yeah, it's only $50. Yeah, and that really just covers our extra cost in shipping, and then adding a little bit of production cost in there. So
that's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Steve, what was your question?
It's cool.
What was that?
It seemed like you wanted to ask something. I was curious to hear.
Well, I've been confused, and Ethan has suffered with my confusion from the beginning.
Oh, no. Ask away.
Well, I guess I'm referring to some text messages I sent you in the past. I know that initially, to get this thing, if people paid in full initially, they had gotten some sort of bonus.
Yes.
This is nothing to do with that. You can, if you want this upgraded base, you can order it.
Yeah, this is something that you would just order as an extra. So for the people that full paid, your main gift is that we're going to sign and number the bases for each person in the order that the order was placed, so that you actually have something that's more like a collectible versus a model experience. But then ArchiveX also gave us 25 sets of paint for the walker itself. And for the first 25 people who ordered the kit, they get a set of paint, like it's 4 or 5 colors or something like that.
And that also creates the ease and simplicity of just having everything you need ready to go, because those colors are preset for the art.
Are they the enamels or the acrylics?
They're going to be the acrylics. He's not even doing enamels right now because they're working on some new stuff for the next year. So they're going to be acrylics. As soon as we get our kit in, we're going to build it, videotape it, take it apart, ship it over to Guy in England. He's going to do a full video painting series on painting the walker, so he can figure out exactly what the right paints are and do a nice little tutorial, then ship it back to us. And then, of course, once we get our first production copy, quote unquote, these are all production copies now, but once we get our round in January or February, then we'll also do another video tutorial as well, so that there'll be 2 sets of video tutorials, same painting process, but we'll go in more depth for the building process or whatever.
And those will all be on the Discord channel, right?
They'll be definitely on the Discord channel and also available publicly as well.
Okay.
And just another top off on that, and because we're, it's easy to just presume that everybody knows all this stuff, but ArchiveX basically, the colors are as close as you can possibly get to the screen use pieces, hence them coming with the kit for those who paid in full. And if you hadn't paid in full, you can go straight to, I believe you can go to the Merlin Models website, and there's an ArchiveX link that will bring you there, and you can select the kit. It's basically a preset kit of paints basically for the AT-AT specifically, but there's, for other models as well. But again, it just adds to the simplicity of being able to just have a one-stop shop.
Yep.
Jason, do any of you guys have a time constraint tonight? Do I need to speed up here, or
I'm okay.
Okay, good. So what I'd like to do now is before we go on to the next kit, I'd like to run through questions and comments people have put on in the chat. So, Sean said we're in class listening intently. Very interesting. What I like about that is you kind of made it as a joke, but I think it's serious too. I like how, Ethan, the level of detail that you've given us on how these things are made, the care that you've taken into putting these together, and then I'm hoping that what this does is this opens up modeling to people like myself, who historically kind of like balk at the traditional model kits, which are much tougher to put together, it seems. Mm-hmm. And so I'm guessing that you're going to get a number of novices listening. So do appreciate the class that you've given us today on how the kit is put together and all that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see.
Does this make you want to try to do it yourself, or are you thinking of still sending it to somebody to do it? Or?
I need to talk to my painter, but I have no concern about building this at all. If I built it myself, I have zero concern about building it because look, it's the tiny details that I'm not good at, right? I can build this. If I can build a dresser, I can build this. It's the much finer details that drive me nuts, and just always gaps and things like that just always come out bad. So
okay.
So let's see. We haven't gotten to the kit yet, but Darth says, "Hey, Tantive IV is going to be my first kit diving in at the deep end?" ? So I guess what he's getting at is the Tantive going to be a tough kit to build?
The Tantive is also, it's not as easy to build as this one, because there's a little bit of balancing to do because of the weight. Okay. So the engines are 3 times as heavy as the rest of the body. So there's a little bit of balancing act that you have to do when you put it together, but it is still simplistic in its form as far as very straightforward to put together. And then you just have to spend a little bit more time if you want to put the lighting kit in it. And that might be where the only tedious part comes in, is you've got to run your wires through that metal frame stand up into the ship, and then wire those into the lights that you already installed. So that would be where it would be what I would call complicated, but it's very logical. It's just regular old tedious work as far as pulling wire through pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I wouldn't call it a level 4 kit or anything like that, as far as super tiny pieces or anything like that.
Plus that mount is hollow, and it's really not that big. I mean, it's just really a matter of just pushing it, sliding right through it shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be the plastic connectors that actually cause you the most tedious difficulty, because the plastic connectors have a steel interior, so that's what keeps them rigid. So you've got to drill through those. So whatever size hole you open is the hole that you've got to fit your wires through.
Right.
So when we do our video to walk through like building one of those, we'll show you like, okay, you know, drill through this, drill through this, drill through this, drill through this to open up all the connectors and a pathway that leads up to the model.
Okay.
So
Hard part.
501st Dark Trooper says, really hoping a Republic gunship would be made at some point. That would be, I would love that. So let's ask the question: are you guys going to focus on original trilogy, or are you interested in expanding out to the other movies?
I absolutely adore the Clone Wars vehicles and architecture.
All right.
As much as people can argue about the films, so I agree wholeheartedly with the vehicles and the design of that, plus the design of the animated series and all the stuff that we're going to be getting is glorious. So I want to produce more Clone Wars stuff. So
Nice.
We do have some opportunities to collaborate with some of the older big designers that would like to digitize some of their kits. So we have worked on a gunship in the past, but people have released some really cheap, nasty-looking 3D printables for nothing, so we never thought that it would take off. But if people want one that's perfect, that's something that we can do. Absolutely. We have worked on bits and pieces of one of those in the past, so it would not be a stretch to get that produced. Probably like a 1/48 scale or something like that would be the best size. 124 is like...
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Or I think it's the AT-AT. Is it the AT-AT, the walker?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love to do the AT-AT. We also have an AAT that's almost done. It just needs to be worked on some engineering, because I would love to make a diorama set with some battle droids or some Jedis fighting on that.
Turbo
And
tank.
you want to use that for some other stuff too.
Turbo tank would be cool.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, so it's just what people want, and they have to voice their opinions. Because again, for us to be able to produce one, all we need is 50 people that want one. We have 50 people that want one, we make it. You know, so you get people that want to come together and tell us, you know, what do you want to see? You know, because we love it all, and especially anything that's unique that's not been done before would be epic. I mean, we want to get to the fighters and stuff eventually, but they have been done by some other guys. I know we could do a better job, but we will get to those too, because I want them in my collection, because your collection is not complete without them. But some of this like unique stuff is something that we really get after.
Now, Ethan, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
You also were put out the shuttle too, pictures of the shuttle as well.
Mm-hmm.
How far along until possibly we could order that?
I was going to say November. I think we could release it in November.
Okay.
But it depends on like where people are financially. Is it a good time to do that? We need to get the Tantive sold first, and just make sure that that's going to fund so we can start production on that. Because that's each of these projects is it's like a 6-month process. Now, we don't want to flood you guys with model after model after model after model that's very expensive either.
Great idea.
I know that a lot of people do that. We want to make a living, but we also we're not crazy. So the shuttle is still being worked on. I think we have probably another week or two of actual work. And then it needs to be fitted, and we need to get the quotes for it, figure out all those diorama pieces, look at that base again, see if that's the perfect design. So there's a little bit of work that still needs to be done. But it could be released in November if that's what people want. So.
So CC asks, what made you decide on the AT-AT and the Tantive? Were they the ones you've always wanted, or did you take feedback from the community?
So the Blockade Runner was a personal favorite. Back, just in growing up in childhood. And we thought there wasn't a lot out there last year when we first designed the kit. So that was the reason why we decided to do that. Was I wanted to see it. I thought it was a really, really cool ship. And there really wasn't anything available aside from, I think there was There was a 1/350, but I don't even know if it was in stock. So it was just rarity, and also like just one of my personal favorites. As far as the Walker goes, I thought the Walker was like the ultimate model to make.
Yeah.
Because there are no good Walkers aside from this one.
Yeah.
The Master Replicas is insanely expensive, and it's fine for what it is, but it's not wholly accurate. It's very squared off.
Yeah.
So
The feet are
even
too small.
though parts is not going to get you perfect because the shell is not shaped correctly. They took shortcuts when they shaped the body shell, so it is straight. And if you look at ours, it's actually there's a curve to the body in more than one direction, and they just took corners on that.
One thing I noticed, Ethan, about your Walker is compared to the MR one is that the feet are really, really small. The feet on the MR one are really small, and this has true proportion that they're wider and bigger.
Yeah. So we knew that there was a gap in the market, and ESB is like my favorite. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of all the series. So I mean, we're going to make every single ship that we can from that particular movie for sure. Snowspeeder is my favorite ship of all ships, so it just makes sense to have the Walker. Hopefully, we'll be able to do the Snowspeeder next year. That is definitely one that I have to have. But there is the Bandai version is the same scale as this, so if you wanted to make a diorama, you can get the Bandai one. And
so for the Snowspeeder, the studio scale one, what size is that? That's 1/12, right, Jason?
I think 1/10.
Okay.
So I don't
Yes,
know if we would do a 1/10.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, our feature scale, like for sculptures and stuff, which we are getting into doing a little bit of figure work. I mean, you've seen that for some of the speeders, but our feature scale is 1/8.
Okay.
And we think that is the perfect size to be able to have vehicles and then multiple characters actually creating a story if we were to do a figure.
Okay.
So like if you have a 1/3 or 1/4 statue, it takes up a lot of space. It's just a single thing standing there. So our plan is we could take up the same amount of real estate as a 1/4 statue, but have 2 or 3 figures doing something and make the base more unique.
So this way you have those companion pieces, and you're not taking up so much real estate by doing so.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of our plan on releasing some figures and some diorama type pieces and things like that. It's going to be at 1/8. So I don't know if I'd have to look at the size of a Snowspeeder at 1/8 to see if that's even feasible. Because it's also I pay attention to where are you going to put it? Because I have to do the same thing. Like where am I going to put it?
Yeah.
The Blockade Runner is 30 inches long, but it's only 10.5 total inches wide. So it is made to fit on a 12-inch shelf.
Oh, that is perfect. It fits in my belly. I have Billy cases, and that would fit perfectly in one shelf on a Billy.
There you go. Yeah. So I didn't even think about IKEA. I was thinking of the IKEAs are like the 15 by 15s, but yeah, there's different sizes for those.
Yeah.
But I try to pay attention to that. The Walker is made for like a 16-inch shelf, or on top of anything that's 16 inches deep, because that's just we had to make the base that wide because of the crash pose.
How wide is the base?
I think 32 or 34 inches by 16.
Okay.
So it might be. So it's a little bit bigger, but we couldn't shrink it down because of the crash pose. Everything had to work for both standing and crashed.
Yeah.
But as a general rule, I want everything to be able to fit on a 12-inch shelf. When you're doing studio scale, that's not always necessarily going to be the case. But we have to think, okay, like, is the Snowspeeder, if we made a 1/8, like, I would want to do it where we could have, like, Luke with the crashed Snowspeeder, on top of it, getting ready to go attack the Walker or whatever, and, be able to do some multiple versions with it. And I don't know if we could do that with 1/8, because what are you going to do, put it on a coffee table?
Yeah, it'd be big.
Because it'd be big. So I don't know what scale is perfect for that, whether we would do a studio scale or just a scaled version. So I know the 1/12, the Black Series one is decent, so you've got that already kind of covered. Do you do 1/24 so that you can do tons of goodies? Or you can really fill up the order with lots of extras and just tons of content. I don't know. That's
My
something I
favorite
haven't figured.
size. My favorite size, personal size, is 1/24th. I like that size. And Jason, I've talked to you many times. If like with the Cloud Car and the A-Wing, they're bigger, and I just don't like that it sets itself apart from other ships in my collection. So I like 1/24th.
Yeah, I like 1/24th or 1/48th personally.
Yeah.
I think 1/48th lends it well to having everything the same scale, but having big pieces and small pieces.
Yes.
So I like that aspect of it. So I want to continue doing lots of 1/48th stuff as well. But then the 1/24th is just like, when you look at it, you're just like, wow. You just can't get, a Falcon or, something really massive in 1/24th just because there's just no put something like that.
But that fits more like a Y-Wing, an X-Wing, a B-Wing.
Yeah, it fits all of the fighter scales perfectly.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to have a full set of fighter scales and speeders and stuff like that at 1/24th, it's perfect.
Yes.
So it fights with my completionist brain because I like to do things in sets. So if they're all different scales, it's a little bit weird. But those are the two, I think, primary scales that I would work with. And then, of course, we have a lot of people that collect the Black Series, and they would love to have us make everything in 1/12th. But, you're going to have some pretty big things at 1/12th as well. Yeah. So,
So
Ben Huckabee said Slave 1.
No, we cannot do a Slave 1. So that's one of the ways that we're able to continue to make things is being nice to those who actually hold licenses. Since we are just doing fan art and we're limiting our ability to do things to keep everybody protected and just do the right thing and be responsible. One of the things is we will not be making anything for the Boba Fett series or anything like that is currently having merchandise being made.
Okay.
So that's just out of respect for those people, because there are people that are making stuff like that that's licensed. So
makes sense. So last question, and we'll move on to the Tantive. So Chris Lord asks, how will this AT-AT be different from the one you're doing together with MYC? Are you doing one with MYC?
We don't have anything on the books with MYC for this, but when we do, it would be different in that the MYC one would be a completed piece. So that would be different. It would be unposable for sure. There would probably be a lot of engineering differences, absolutely, just based upon how they would manufacture it. No trademark base. So it would be very different. Hopefully the same accuracy, probably, but I mean,
you're getting more. So you're getting less of a statue kit, more of a model-esque, similar to, if anyone's familiar with like the MR style that we were just mentioning. Basically, it's you take it out of the box, key it together like you would a statue, X amount of pieces, and put it on display. So this is still giving you you're saving a lot of time, effort, and energy doing the model, but it's still giving you the model experience.
Exactly.
I think when that time does come, I think it's the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Yeah. And the next year is something we're super excited about for working with MIC on, tons of projects and new stuff. And, they've been a big help to us, and we're definitely going to reciprocate. So.
Yeah, Ethan, we're huge fans of MYC here, and the idea of the two of you guys working together on projects is fantastic. We're thrilled about that. So
yeah, I want to find my own way to trademark our stuff and make it different. I know there's another company working with them for some model kits, so the next step is going to be saying, okay, what makes us different? Because if you're Sideshow, you're not going to get your stuff made by the same people that make Queens. So we have to figure out a way to separate ourselves from in the production and the presentation part from all the rest of the competition, because we are unique. We always want to be unique, whether we're working with a collaborator or not. It is not a general run-of-the-mill product. It has to be special. So.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share the Tantive photos. Oop, a little bit of echo. Okay.
Oh yeah, this beauty.
So here we go. So I have to admit, Ethan, I've told the guys this. The Tantive is my favorite ship of all the spaceships.
Nice.
I absolutely love this. There's something about that the rack of engines in the back that is just so sweet, and then the shape of the the hammerhead in the front really is just absolutely love it. Yeah, we answered this question earlier.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I love this design. I always have, and I'm so thrilled that you've decided to do it. And I thought it was interesting you were talking about how you really liked this.
Yeah,
it's
the
one of your
shape
favorites.
is very unique to me as well. The
Yeah.
shape line is pretty awesome. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of like submarines, especially like the World War II submarines.
Okay.
Have that long, sleek body.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some reminiscentness in the shape language of that.
Very
So
close.
that might help be why I like the shape so much.
Huh. Okay. I never even thought of it that way. That's interesting. Okay.
No, neither did I.
So you were talking about magnets earlier.
Yeah,
And there's quite a few magnets in this one, huh, Ethan?
there's a bunch of magnets on this one. So we wanted to increase the posability and the ease of use for this kit as well. So all the guns, the escape pods, the hatches, the radar dish, all of that can be secured by magnets if you wish. They'll all be included so that you can rotate your guns, you can pop them off, pop them back on, access the hatch if you wanted to pull the hatch off the bottom or off the side. You can pull it off. It just pops right on with magnets. And that's something we've already tested. It works perfectly. So even with our 3D printed prototype, the tolerances are good enough to be able to test all of that. And it works absolutely flawlessly.
Yeah.
Really cool. So that's one of the main features there. But a lot of the other stuff is pretty neat too. Like the side gun barrels are going to be CNC machined overseas. So no brass. You don't have to worry about putting brass pieces together because they do have a nice little step down, but they're very tiny. So we're going to have all of those individually lathed. So that's included in the kit.
Lathed out of what material?
I believe aluminum is what we're going to do. We're going to do it.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about the pieces bending over time. Okay, very good.
Nope. Nope.
Ethan,
Be...
Doesn't the top of the cockpit come off too with a magnet? You can see
yes.
inside.
There's no magnets for the top of the cockpit. That just sits in place. There's no need to have that like super secured.
Right.
And I think we're going to have them cast 2 copies of the detailed top, one in epoxy clear and then one in polyurethane, so that you could just get it clear and look inside if you wanted to.
Nice touch.
So that'll be the same that we did when we first released parts of this kit last year. The base, of course, is super, super unique. So we wanted to have that reminiscent of the hallway from the beginning of the movie. And then we're going to do the same thing as put dimmers on those LED windows so that you can set the perfect brightness for your specific collector room. And it just gives a nice, underglow to the model itself. And then the stand is aluminum, and we're going to powder coat that for all the visible pieces. We're going to have all that custom powder coated in satin black so that it blends in perfectly. And then there's also aluminum running through the entire ship, and it's square because we've tested different versions with round tube, and most ships of this type that need an armature are done with round tube. And there's always a twisting, or some sort of crazy fluctuation that you get depending on how you want to mount it. It's really difficult to balance, all that kind of stuff. So by going with square tubing, everything is completely locked from the beginning. There's no movement whatsoever side to side. So that makes it really awesome. And it also helps to balance it front to back. But the engines are heavier, so there is ballast. We'll include ballast for the front. So as you build your kit, you'll just put in a baggie full of basically steel BVs into the front and just get that stowed in place, and that will balance the whole kit so that there's no type of rocking or it doesn't want to lean back on you. It'll be basically the same weight front to back.
Nice.
So make sure that that's going to be a viable solution as well. And then, of course, the full special effects animated lighting kit. So this will be our first time doing one of those. We're working with Arduino and putting together like a full lighting sequence. So the cockpit will light up first, and then there'll be a startup animated sequence in the back before it goes to a nice idle animation. So we're going to be messing with that probably over the next few months, just really getting the timing down and working with the brightness levels and stuff like that.
So this thing is a diagrammer in and of itself as its own.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more goodies in this than there is for the Walker, just in parts. It's crazy, and it was crazy that we were able to get it back down to even being below the price of the Walker, just because of the extra, especially metal bits and things like that. But we were able to do it, so we're really thrilled with that.
Ethan, did you say the engines will have like a running, like it's like pulsing or run, like drive, like flying? Oh, wow.
Yeah, as soon as it goes through its startup sequence, the plan is to have it like do some like sputtering, like you're getting those engines warmed up, and then it'll do a couple of good flashes, and then it'll open up as if the engine's turned on, and then we're just going to put it into like an idle sequence where it would be kind of in flight mode, where you can see those engines just kind of zooming up and down.
I paid $100 just to put that on my Falcon, just for that engine, just alone.
I was going to say that's the thing. Another fantastic thing. Another fantastic addition, because
like nobody includes that stuff. I don't understand why you wouldn't. If it's easy enough to do and it's warranted for the kit. I mean, I personally don't enjoy putting in super crazy electronics, but this is not super crazy. It's easy enough to do. So why not go through the effort to put something in that's really neat?
I think you just sold me on this.
Oh boy. Okay, very good. So speaking of the electronics.
Yeah, so these are good. These are all the basic electronics. You can see the ballast there. This is also a picture of what the kit could look like if you had previously purchased a 3D printable kit, or you wanted a 3D printable kit. We do want to release that type of version, but only with the parts that you need to actually make it a real kit. So you would get a USB stick with the files encrypted when everybody else gets their stuff. So you're not going to get it early, but you'll get it with everybody else's kits. But then we'll give you all the metal bits, the stand, and all the lighting equipment and everything that you would need to make it the same type of kit as everybody else. But you get to print the pieces yourself if you want.
And then everything we're seeing in this lower right-hand image is what would be included for the lighting setup. Okay, so that's also a big step forward as well, because these options can be done when you're looking at the quote unquote garage kits. But as Chris mentioned, $100 alone to give this effect or add that. So you're not only piecing this all together. Normally you have to go out and you have to source these pieces yourself. You have to go to place A, place B, this site, that site, get the pieces you need, get it together and get it working. And it's something that's kind of sort of bespoke or makeshift that you do on your own. The fact that this is all prepackaged and you don't have to worry about, branching off into multiple different links or websites to, source all these pieces is fantastic as well. I didn't know that every single bit here was included, and I looked through some of the images, but this is, again, another fantastic step forward.
Yeah. And we also wanted to make sure that the electronics for the Blockade Runner worked with the electronics for the base, so that you only had one cable coming out. So we're going to put a USB plug inside the base, so that all you got to do is take your Arduino once you have it wired up, which is only 3 wires. It's really easy to wire in. And then you just plug that into the base, and then it's got a separate on-off switch for the ship, and then a dimmer switch that's on-off for the base. So you have 2 separate switches that you can really control exactly what happens, and then there's just one wire that goes to your wall.
This is a game changer for people who are really wanting to get into it and they're new to this. And, this has been happening in like the Hilt and the Saber, arena for quite some time. As you know, the Adrenos and the pre-programmed sounds and things like that, where you can just get an install, put the kits in, and you're finished. But nobody's done it for models. Nobody's done it yet for models. This is fantastic.
I was curious about the base. I really wasn't sure about the base, how those angles come out in the front. But now that you said it's supposed to mimic the hallway of the Tantive, now I understand. It makes more sense to me now. So
think of the hallway, but opened up like an onion in reverse. So the lights are the ceiling lights.
Yep.
That's the top of the base. And then the front is one wall of the interior hallway.
It makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then all that is screen printed so it's all really super high quality. So even like the wall, the door pieces, and all the little panels and stuff, those are pieces of acrylic that they will actually physically glue on individually, and every single one is screen printed. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a nice little touch, nice little Easter egg. And again, with this ship, which will be on your website as well, the link to ArchiveX. So for anybody who may be like wondering, okay, how do I do this? You know, what colors do I need? You'll be able to go and get those colors that.
Yeah, and we'll do videos to show you exactly how it's painted. We might even throw up some reference that we found, just so that you have reference that you can download. I mean, we're happy to do all that stuff. But, you know, for sure, once the kit comes in, we'll do a full, very nice step-by-step instructional video on how to put every single little piece together that you can take with you and keep forever. And then same thing with the painting video. There'll be an instructional painting video for everybody who purchased a kit, just to show you these are the paints that we would use. This is how we paint a kit. And then, you know, you go off and do it yourself if you would like to, or have us do it, or have one of the other, you know, professional painters on the forums do it. Lots of options.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, this went up for pre-order when? About a week ago?
Yeah, about a week ago.
And how things coming along with the pre-order?
We're going a little bit slow, but we're hoping that it'll pick up over time. I mean, we've got plenty of time to get it going, because, you know, we expect that these things will take a little bit of time to go through. But we were hoping that people would be interested in the contest that we have going on for pre-orders on this. So if you pre-order between now and the end of October, your name is automatically entered into a giveaway contest where we are purchasing a full set of ArchiveX paints, all $450 or whatever, and we're going to give that away to one random person who pre-orders, so that you would have an entire set of ArchiveX paints for yourself.
So now are we eliminated because we're doing
I know.
You know, it's like, you know, companies have contests, and like if you're an employer or family of an employee, you know?
Right. No. It's every single person who pre-orders. And we also lowered the pre-order price down to only $250 to get in. And we increased the number of payments, so there's no big payment in the middle and then a small payment at the end. There's still a small
So you have
payment
more of a payment plan versus a down payment and then the rest when it's
yeah.
due.
It's more work on our side, and I want to figure out ways to streamline it, because it's a lot to keep track of. But because of what we're doing, and we understand that there's other companies that release things, and everybody is collecting stuff, we want to try to make it as easy as possible to get into one of these and to get it done. So basically, you pay $250 now, get in there, and then pay another $250 before New Year's Day, and then January and February you pay $250, and then you're pretty much done, except for I think one payment in shipping. So,
so that makes it much more reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, spread apart. We'll start doing that with all of our kits, is to reduce the entry level, to get yourself reserved, and then also get you more payments, just to flow it out during the production process. So
I'll be ordering it, Ethan.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Good. Get you on that list.
Damn it.
Yeah, come on, people. Got to order this thing. I want this to happen really bad.
Things like,
as I said, this is my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, things like the light kits, it's one of those things for people who don't know, who want to get into this, because we talk about studio scale all the time, or just models all the time. There's so many people who love them. We do collector spotlights, Ethan, and people have beautiful models, you know, showcasing their collections, and there's such an intimidation factor there, and it's such a barrier to entry financially, right? Because if you're commissioning someone to do something from scratch in a garage kit, you have to figure out a way to source that kit if it's even available, because you can't just go to a site like Merlin Models and just buy it, right?
Yeah.
So there's that part. And then you're talking thousands of dollars in, right? Thousands. And then if not, and you're left, you know, if you're trying to do it on your own, then you're going here and you're getting this, and you go in here and you're getting that. The fact that you're saying, hey guys, you don't have to visit 6 different websites, or, you know, scrounge around on 6 different forums. Here's everything in one box and you're ready to rock. That, I think, is going to change the way. I mean, some people will fret, oh, accuracy, this, that, details. Like, you know, there's always going to be the nitpicking and naysayers. But at the end of the day, for anybody who's looking to get into it and, you know, eliminate that barrier to entry, this got to be, I mean, I haven't yet seen a better way or a simpler way than this. And I'm not even saying that to be polite, like genuinely knowing some of the challenges that me and Chris have faced. And trust me, there have been some more than some challenges. Yeah. This just really takes a lot of the guesswork and headache out of it.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, I'm a model maker too. Again, I've been painting models and building models for my entire life, basically. But I took my own experience, and this is experience that everybody else has, and said, how can we do it better? There is new technology, you know. No, we're not going to do like injection molding to make 1,000 kits. You know, we can't do that. You know, we're fan art. But if we're not going to do that, I'm not going to cast it in the garage either. You know, I'm going to get it done right, and we're going to put all the pieces that you need in there, because I don't want to have to go source that stuff out either if I bought a kit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like you should for the price that you pay. I feel like it should be in there. People should put the extra effort to include these types of things, and this should be the new trend. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody start copying us. This is the way that it should be. You know, there's no reason for that price point that you should not include all kinds of goodies. It should be a special surprise. You know, up to and including the coin. You know, we didn't have to do the coin thing either, but on every single physical kit, we're including that massive, freaking huge custom 4-inch coin with a stand, because that's what separates us from everybody else, and you can collect those with every single kit that you purchase. You know,
the coin is an amazing. I love the coin, but
well, no doubt, you know why, Chris? It's all
it takes you back to
vintage.
vintage.
It's definitely a pull for the vintage collectors for sure.
I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, they're definitely.
Yeah, so we're doing that for every single release. Every physical release gets a coin. It might be different colors based upon like being Rebel or Imperial or whatever. You know, we're going to try to keep theming going here. But it'll be the same size, you know, same thickness or whatever, this exact same thing, so that you can line them up or you can have them with your kit or whatever.
I don't think I can stress how important it is that these kits are coming pre-cleaned, no filing, no cutting off of flashing, because I just finished Slave 1, which was very daunting, and I have an X-Wing on my desk, and I'm trying to bring myself to do it because I got to go through all that cutting and cleaning and filing and sanding, and it's daunting. It's very, very daunting. So
it is. It's crazy, you know. Yeah. And I do take commissions every so often, but I won't take commissions from certain kits because I don't want. Because first off, because it's price prohibitive for me to spend 40 hours cleaning a kit before I even start putting it together, much less add anything extra to it. That's thousands of dollars of cleaning.
Yeah.
You know.
Or even when you're 25% through the build and then you realize you're missing two important pieces, and it then limits you from moving forward.
Yeah.
There's definitely the fun and adventures of, you know, and it's one of those things where people are going to say, hey, that's part of the sport, you know, right?
Certain people love it. Certain people absolutely adore the time, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's two different sides of the story, right? There are people that love the build and the paint, and then there are people that love all the intricateness and really taking your time and, you know, doing all the very fine sanding and the polishing and the fitting and the cleaning and you know, all that stuff. You know, I'm a painter. That's what I do in the model world. I'm really. So
you want to get to the fun part. You want that ice cream cake, and you want to get to the little chocolate crunchies in the middle. Yeah.
So I have to cutting it apart to balance that. You know, and say, okay, how many pieces do we really want to have in here, aside from just the engineering of it? But saying, okay, you know, for the fun part, for people that want to build it, you know, you've got to throw in some extra model pieces, which I wouldn't normally do because we could probably cast it without it, but just, you know, to add some fun factor in there. And then there are people that say this is way too simple. You know, it should not be 30 or 40 pieces. It should be 200. And I'm like, that's not going to be who we are. You know, we're always going to be people that try to make it easy enough. You know, it should be fun to build, easy enough to build, and an absolute blast to paint. And we'll teach you how to paint too if you've never painted before. So that's the plan.
Yeah, that would be interesting if I got around to actually painting these things.
Well, if you want to learn how, we're going to teach you because we're starting that next week.
Really?
I just purchased as many Bandai kits as I could get my hands on because those are just easy accessible. We're going to start from picking paintbrushes, picking paints, all the different types of paints, how to use an airbrush, the whole 9 yards. We'll start from ground one, from zero, and we'll walk through all the Bandai kits, teach you everything that you need to know, then move on to our kits. I'll throw in some really, really hard ones every so often that people can watch, or if they can buy it if they want to, or whatever.
Same channel, Ethan. Same YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on our same YouTube channel. We're gonna start a Patreon channel for people who want to really learn. Those will be like the long form videos, where it's really step by step. And then on YouTube, we'll release shorter versions of every single video.
Oh, very good.
You'll be able to get some content, but it's not going to be the freebies aren't going to be as much for the learning as much as if you are a self learner, you can figure it out. But if you really want to learn, then we're gonna have a Patreon where it's like, good 30-minute videos split into sections, all that kind of stuff, very nicely edited. We're just gonna take our time and try to do like one video a week, and really help the people that we've come to know, learn how to paint and learn how to build. We'll do a whole section on 3D printing for anybody who wants to learn how to do 3D printing. These are just the skills that we have, so why not teach them too?
Right. Yeah. Very cool.
But yeah. So again, everything will be. There's always going to be a free version on YouTube, and then we'll do the Patreon for anybody who really wants to get like the vocal step by step. Pause, repeat, and
I think this is allowing a whole new generation of collectors who looked at this as one of those things. Again, as something we talk about often, as like I can admire it from afar, I can enjoy it from afar, but it's not going to be my collection. Well, now here's your chance. You can now have these pieces in your collection. It's now being done in a way where you can actually take that first step and move forward in doing so.
Yeah, and most of this stuff you don't need to spend $2,000 to get painted professionally if you don't want to. We will show you how to do it. If you buy a kit, there will be a long form video for every kit that we buy that you'll get no matter what. That's not going to be a Patreon thing, to really walk you through how we paint it. And the techniques are not rocket science for the most part. It is really not rocket science. So it's just a matter of watch how it's done and repeat it. There's some hand coordination, of course. There's some practice that goes in, but a lot of this stuff is just some spray painting, and the weathering process is not a technical experience. There's an art to it. There's technique to it, but it is not technical. It's not like this has to go here perfectly. If you want to look at pictures and do it spot on, you can. But if you're just putting some weathering on it and you're going through and you're doing, you got a picture of the Blockade Runner, and then we're painting the Blockade Runner. You're saying, okay, well, there's smudges here. How do I do a smudge? Well, it's really easy to do a smudge.
Yeah,
it's not
people are
hard to do a smudge.
People will find it very surprising how easy it is to do ILM weathering. It's like
well, you can't.
It really is.
Well, it's weathering. It's so not to say that you can't mess up. You can, but it's weathering. It's a.
There's somebody showing you how, especially where you can take it one step at a time and say, okay, well, I'm going to prime this. I'm going to mask this off, paint this red. We're going to start with this color of weathering, and we're going to do all the weathering with this color. We're going to start this color of weathering, go through this color. This is how you mask off a piece to put a shadow on. This is how you spatter. This is how you chip. It's all easy, but I think a lot of the trick to most art form is knowing the order of operations. So when do I do what? And then how do I protect what I've just put down without messing it up? So lots of techniques for sealing in between layers. When do I use enamel versus acrylic? Do I use both? Which the answer is yes. You use both.
How you go about doing that, because a lot of times you can do like a model kit and paints won't react on different surfaces. Like if you want to go acrylics and then weather with enamels, you don't want to do reverse because that'll destroy.
Right.
Yeah.
So or you have to put a sealer in between. If you put a sealer in between, then that's going to mess up the quality of that paint, whether that was supposed to be matte or varnish or gloss or whatever. So mixing the different types of paint, how to use oil paints, how to use oil pencils and pastels, which are really, really cheap ways to get weathering materials. There's all kinds of stuff. We can go through.
But again, aside from the kits, even the information and the detail that you're receiving, as far as the video, the tutorials, all that stuff. Again, you're going back to that one-stop shop, and I really just think that having thought all that through and giving people the ability to say, look, if you want this, it's now possible to have it. because some people may say, hey, you know, I can, you know, try my hand at a kit, or I can do this, and then you know, they're going to so many different resources, they're linked to so many different forums and threads and whatnot, and it just again gets overwhelming, not just the build and the, you know, sourcing of the parts, but now the layering, the weathering, the what images, what's accurate. This ability to say, hey, we're going to provide you with the kit, you know, you purchase the kit, we'll provide you with, you know, everything, ease of use, but now we're also going to provide you with the step-by-step on how to make that, you know, one step further. And then the paints, again, the ArchiveX, proper colors, one-stop shop. I mean, it can't get any easier. So
yeah, exactly. I'll talk to Guy about every kit that we make and say, okay, well, these are the paints that we're going to use, and this is what was done. You know, I'll talk to the people that know before we even get going, so that we can try to get it as good as possible.
So people who don't know, Guy Cohen is the guy who came up with ArchiveX paints. He's the one who is the owner of the company. And I got a lot of my procedures from Guy. I got my procedures for my Falcon. I got the procedures from Sandcrawler and the Slave One also from him. So this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy does.
Yeah.
There's plenty of resources out there. And again, like I will talk to those people and figure out the procedures for when we do our videos, so that it is as accurate as possible. You know, it's not just going to be me guessing at what the proper colors are or something like that.
So why don't we shift over to our last group of pictures here? I'm going to go ahead and put those up now. This is quite a different product,
so
right?
We tried. One of the other things that I really enjoy is board games and just the luxury gaming aspect of things. And my thought process was, if you're a big collector, then you're always looking for unique items for one that almost nobody's going to have. So that was point number one. Point number two that started this whole thing was looking for good quality games. I knew that Sabacc existed. I knew that there was rule sets, that it was a really good balanced game. But when I went online to try to figure out where to get parts and pieces, it was outrageous if you could find it just to get a deck of cards. If you went to Galaxy's Edge, you could get a deck of cards. I think the cheapo, like Uno quality cards for $30, just the cards. But that's it. If you go to Etsy, you can get 2 of Han Solo's dice for $30 or $40 in metal if you wanted to. But nobody was combining things. Nobody was making it easy or clear if you really wanted to play the game or collect the game or do anything. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. Let's figure out how we can get the absolute, again, best possible quality product, combine it all at the best possible quality price. So we started with the cards. We redesigned the cards, and then added in the extra foil for the 2 zeros, and then we took those, and I found a manufacturer that manufactures poker cards to give us the best possible quality linen finish deck of cards, the gold foil embossed box, and basically everything that you'd get from a collectible playing card deck in a Sabacc deck. So we started with the cards. We made them, again, it's the best finish you could possibly get on a card. We designed the dealer coin specifically. We designed Han Solo's dice, because that's actually how you play the game, is with those dice. Part of the cool trick of the game is in between every hand you roll the dice, and you're looking for them not to be doubles. If they're doubles, then you have to turn in some of your cards and get more cards out. And if they're 2 spikes, you turn in all of your cards and get brand new cards. So it could completely mess up your hand. And if you don't know, the game of Sabacc is played where you've got green cards and red cards. The green cards are positive, the red cards are negative, and the goal of the game is to get to 0 in your hand. And that would be considered a Sabacc hand. And there's a variety of different types of Sabacc hands. They're in the instruction manual. But it's
fantastic.
Blackjack put together. It really plays best with gambling, with chips. You have a Sabacc stack that you have to ante into, and then your regular gambling stack. And if nobody gets Sabacc, but just gets somewhere close to 0, let's say that somebody wins with a hand of 1, then they don't get the Sabacc pot. that pot has to stay there, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow until somebody gets an actual sabak hand. So that's really cool.
So what's great is this is both playable, or if you just want it for display purposes for your collection, it's just one or the other or both. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the best possible quality that we could get, and then we took all of this and put it into a nice box with foam inserts. Again, just to make it as close to an actual game, as you could. There is nothing like it on the internet at all.
This I felt like was an absolute. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago in group therapy. We touched upon it a little bit, and this I felt like was an absolute no-brainer. It was one of those things where
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at almost $100 worth of stuff if you were to try to find it separately on Etsy or something like that, and we're selling it for $30.
Yeah, so especially with the dice included, like you said, with the dice included. Yeah, and the quality, because there are some things on Etsy and the quality's hit or miss. It's hard. And we had seen the Galaxy's Edge ones. We were actually over at the Galaxy's Edge or the Downtown Disney at one point checking them out. I think Steve, you even had a set at one point, or still have a set. But
yeah, I
like it. Yeah, so I like the idea that again you get the displayability and you get the playability of it. You get both, and for a still of a price. I mean, I think we all jumped on and ordered them once we were chatting about them.
Nice, yeah.
For $30
they're just $30.
No brainer.
The cards themselves are the only thing that we don't have in-house right now. We're just waiting on them. The boat is in the port in Los Angeles, and it's been sitting there because shipping crisis. It can't get to dock. So I think it's supposed to be here November 1st, I think. So it's not a pre-order. You can go ahead and order it, but as soon as the cards get here, first week in November, we've already got a bunch of boxes already put together with everything but the cards, and we're just going to pop the cards in there, wrap it up, and start shipping.
Nice.
So we just decided that we're ordering a bunch of these. So we have a stock, and they'll be here until they're gone. So just pick it up. I mean, it's the perfect gift, especially for Christmas for anybody who likes Star Wars. And then, of course, we could not do one of these without adding in the chipsets. And that was just something that I've always wanted to do, is to get into the chipsets. Because again, if you get on Etsy, if you put up one of the pictures of like the Imperial credits, I think that's what more people are interested in the beginning. Each one of these credits,
they're like $7-8 for one. Yeah, it's like
$7-8
$7-8 for just one. You're right.
Why would you? And I think you can only order like 15 at a time or something stupid. I mean, but you could never play with them. Like, you would never be able to get enough to play a game. You need 200 pieces for 4 people to play a game. That's the minimum. I don't even know why people are selling them individually. I guess people just want to buy one to have or something like that. Which, I mean, if you want to, we'll sell them to you. but we redesigned those and had them made, and then built this custom box with box joints, velvet interior. I mean, basically, we designed the box from the ground up. It's not a stock box. It's solid wood. This one is walnut, but the official one's going to be oak.
Metal hinges, yeah.
We wanted to reduce the price a little bit, and we also wanted to lighten up the stain so that you could really see the detail, because it's not one of these like knockoff Chinese things with chamfered corners that's kind of like glued or nailed together. It's solid box joints, aged silver finish on all the clasps and stuff like that.
Ethan, even the nice little touch of like when the coin and the larger box here, I would assume maybe like Beskar, where you can have the little silk pole to lift it.
Yes.
And yeah, that's such a nice little touch.
Because the dice is a little deep for pulling it out. So we're going to add the silk tassels for the dice as well to make those easy to pull out. But yeah, I mean, it's what I would consider like if you were a basketball player or NFL football player, this is the kind of set that you would get. That's the quality of the box and the quality of the material if you wanted chips. Like, it's like millionaire standard stuff. But if we get it in bulk, then that's where we can get a good price point. And we have not had any like interest, it seems, whatsoever on these. So I'm very curious what people think. Because I think it's expensive, but it's way less expensive than if you were to buy them individually.
I was actually thinking, and I'm not trying to put this out there to encourage anybody to do, but I was actually thinking, because what you said earlier, I had been looking online and seeing, I knew right away like $7-8 a piece for just one, And I thought that was super expensive if you want to try to put a set together. I'm thinking, well, how many people are going to end up buying this and trying to part that out? You know what I mean? And like double or
You
triple the
could.
money. Like,
If you want,
I mean,
if you want,
you actually could.
But it's really fun to play too.
Well, that's the thing. I think it'd be great to really have. This would be fantastic to have that set, sit down, a couple of guys, and just get in on that. You know.
Yeah,
monthly
and if you
game.
don't think it's still like one of the most unique things that's ever been released to have in your collection of unique items, right? If you have that room full of all that cool stuff, then this would be one of those things. You put it on a shelf. You have the box open. Show them the Beskar one. You could also do it with the Beskar. We made Beskar poker plaques. They're the same size as poker plaques. Go up. It's in the middle, right there. Yeah. So those are all
that's the thing of beauty. Yeah.
Bricks. There's 25 of them, which is the proper amount if you wanted to color up the chips. But that comes with a foam topper. The Beskar is a little bit smaller than normal Beskar, not by much, but it's a little bit smaller and thinner to be the same size as a Vegas poker plaque. So those are what you would use as like your 500 or your 1,000 count chips to play the game.
I mean, this is a man cave dream right here.
Yeah.
So like anybody who's into playing,
anybody
who's into playing, cards, poker, whatever, in your man cave, and you have your collectibles up. I mean, I agree. It's one of those things where I don't know. I'm wondering if people are under the impression that it's for like display purposes only. I don't know. That is weird. I would have expected something like this to be very popular and making its rounds of like, hey, you get to see this thing. Like, check this thing out. Like, this is a great way to, because I think you can have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and again, it's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive considering how expensive models are. And you're getting a crazy value. Like I think this box is $300. But if you look at Beskar online, one piece of Beskar is $30 or $40. So this gives you
some upwards of 70, some upwards of 75. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one.
And these are all hand-aged metal Beskar plaques, and that would put the price at $12 per plaque. And you get the box for free, basically at $2.99. I mean, there's no better deal for getting Beskar. Yes, they are solid. It's solid metal, aged, totally weathered to look like whatever that steel is that they would use.
Beskar.
Yeah, Beskar.
we need to acknowledge CC here. So not just for a man cave,
the 4%
but for the 4% of our audience that are female. I
don't know, that 4% is growing.
4% are
cave. Up to 5.
It doesn't take much to increase our percentage. So
right, we're probably up to 5.
Yeah. We Ethan, we call the ladies 4%ers around here because that's about how many ladies listen to watch our show. Yeah.
Well, the ladies deserve their cave too, for sure. Absolutely.
Exactly.
This is perfect for the she shed for sure.
Yeah, the she shed. But then there's also a cheaper version where you can get more, and we designed our own actual regular poker chips that are casino grade clay chips, and you can get a 500 count or a 200 count of those, and those are much more affordable because the clay chips are less expensive. But I've never felt clay chips like this in a casino before. Like they're 14 gram, 69% clay. I mean, they are top quality products, and you get a dealer chip, small blind, and a big blind custom metal coins as well. And then what we are not showing, and I didn't even put a picture up because we haven't combined it yet, is we are designing our own deck of regular cards that are out of this world. They're almost done, and we're going to get our own like regular playing deck, and you'd get 2 of those decks with this set as well. And they knock like there's nothing like it out there. They are so cool. I'm hoping to be able to show those off more. I think I showed some briefly. Like you can look on our website and you can see four of the cards in the product description. But they're going to be ridiculous. Like every single suit is a different character. We've got vehicles for the number cards. And the only thing that I'm wondering is if we need to go back and revisit the design of the poker chips. Because we designed the poker chips, but I've also been looking at some like old, like 18th century, 19th century poker chips where they're a solid ring, and then there's a more simple design in the center. And we can easily go back and we can pay to have a designer design graphics for the chips for us if people want this set. I don't want to put the money into it if people are not going to buy the chips, but if it's the chip design, which we still think these chip designs are cool, but if somebody's looking for something that's a little bit more sophisticated, then I have ideas for that as well. We need people to talk. We need people to talk and tell us what they want, because these are really expensive. Like, it costs a couple $1,000s to get the samples made. If that tells you how expensive it is just to get them.
Wow.
So if you're offering them, like,
not to purchase, to prototype and make. Yeah.
There's the samples. But if you were to purchase this from a regular company, they would want over $1,000 easy for these things, and we're offering them for less than half of that. So
you talked about how there hadn't been too much interest in the Imperial credits. Are any of these other sets doing well, or are you generally challenged across the board? What's the situation?
The Walker kit is doing super well. I mean, it took a while to get going, but that was our first real production. And I'm
talking about these gaming sets.
Across the board, the gaming sets are not doing anywhere near what we want them to do. Like, I don't think we sold any chip sets at all. I think we actually sold one chip set today.
Okay.
And we sold a few Sabak sets the day one, and then that was it. So that's why we're really curious why, because there also haven't even been any comments on our posts, and I'm more curious if it's just that we're not explaining ourselves well enough, maybe, because that's just part of us. I don't like to spam, and I don't like to be the marketing guy, because I'm an art guy. I make models. I do CGI for a living. But we're learning how to properly explain things to people at the same time and say, this is, because we know it's really cool. But we don't know how to, maybe we did not get that point across or explain things correctly. So, but to be able to sell this, we have to get some pre-orders of the chips to be able to get the price down. Otherwise, they're going to be really, really expensive to do one-offs of. The game, we have them in stock. I mean, like I said, we just decided to order them because we thought it was a no-brainer. We were like, there's no way that people are not going to want this, so we just went ahead and bought them all.
So the people in the chat, if you have an opinion on what would hold you back from ordering these, or what is holding you back, it'd be great to get some comments to help Ethan. I know that I ran out and I immediately bought the Sabak set. I thought that was a no-brainer. Just go get the cards, right? As far as the sets, I would love to own these. I would love to own them. But I think the price for what they are, the price is fantastic for what they are, but it's still hard for me to spend, $400 on a bunch of poker chips, right? Mm-hmm. Or whatever. Sabak is a little bit harder still because, okay, so when I think about Sabak, I mean that set's gorgeous, right? But how many friends am I going to invite over? How often am I going to invite a bunch of friends over to go play Sabak as opposed to regular poker, right? And how many people are actually going to be interested in playing Sabak of my friends? They're not geeks. I don't have, I got geek like me. I don't have that many geek friends that would be coming over to go play Sabak. We'd more likely play poker, right? And so it's the how often would I use them for the price is what is holding me back. I may ask for something like this for like a Christmas gift. Hey, could somebody put this on my wish list? Could somebody pick this up for me? But that's what goes through my mind when I was thinking about this was that those two things. So
yeah, I mean, we figured that the Sabak sets, the chip sets, would be very specific to people who wanted to collect them for their cave. Or, knowing that they're not going to play them a whole lot. Because even, I made the cards knowing that I'm not going to play it tons. It's just, It's really cool to have. And again, if you're a collector, nobody's going to have one of these. Or, 50 people or less are going to have one of these. You're going to be in a very, very small crowd of people for your cave across all the groups.
Now you're talking Steve's language.
Yeah, it is. That is my language for sure.
That's his language right there.
As far as the poker chips go, I'm the same. Like I would play the poker chips. Definitely, a few times a year for sure, if not more. But what what is a price point? Because I think the 200 piece set is $200, and then the 300 piece set is 300, or the 500 piece set is $300. So for you, what price point for custom chips would put you in the realm of this is something that I would really want?
So look, if I was shopping for custom chips, I think that this price is great. So that's not the issue.
Okay, cool.
I don't think that's a. Yeah,
but we're curious if price is something that are causing people to flake off, because we could go with a standard box and not go with the custom box, because the custom box is what makes it high quality. It's what helps make it luxury. It's not just the chips, but the box is a big part of the cost, because it is a solid hardwood that's stained, and it's crushed velvet and custom inserts and all the hardware. I mean, it's the real deal. It's not a Chinese crappy box. You know, it's your professional made box made by a jewelry company. So it's that. So my thoughts were price point, even though we know that the price point, if you look it up, is so much less, but most people don't know. Or is it the design of the chips that needs to be adjusted? Because I figured that the poker chips would be something that people would be interested in, because you would actually use that.
Yeah. The other thought that I would throw at you is, I'm not interested in the chips because I'm a collector.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the chips because, hey, I like to play poker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask the question: Is the collector really a market here?
Right.
These are like I when I look at all this, to be frank, I don't have the desire to go buy a set of this and put it on display.
Yeah.
I don't. For me, I'm a collector of props, of statues and whatnot, and showing a set of Imperial credits, a real big set, it doesn't do that for me as much. And I wonder how much of the community that you're reaching through your modeling, right, is really into it would be really into, who are collectors, are really into this, as opposed to, is there a different community of people that would be more a gaming community that would be more into this, right? And I'm looking at a comment from Cece here, and she says, exactly, I'm a collector, so that's why the chips have less appeal to me, whereas the cards, the dice, etc. For me, the one thing I would display out of all this really would be the set of Sabak cards. Yeah. So that's just, as I'm sitting here trying to think of why. What is it like? Because normally the price on these things, I wouldn't hesitate to go out and buy a statue for that much, right? I wouldn't hesitate to go out and buy a prop for that much. So why am I hesitating on buying this for that much? It's because I don't collect gaming items. That's for me, and I wonder.
It's not registering as a prop to you.
Right.
Yeah, I think of it as a prop, because once you open it up and it's in a case, it's like, oh, cool, it could be something. But in most people's minds, maybe it is not registering as a prop. It is just registering as a game.
Yeah.
That's where the Sabak game comes in as a prop, because it's something that's in universe, like it's in the movies. That's probably why, like, Steve is more interested in the Sabak game.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, we're going to make stuff that is not going to sell super well, or sell only to a very, very specific audience. I think
that's
the
the
main
challenge
push
in
here
this
is
finding.
the cards, and saying, that's a no-brainer. Everybody that's on this stream should hop over to the website and grab some cards, because they're really, really cool, and the price point is just insane for what you're getting.
Yeah, it's one of the best buys.
It's fantastic. Go out and learn how to play the game. Even if you play a couple, 3 times, it's now you can say you've played Sabak. So when you're watching the movie, you know what the hell's going on. You know what's going on, right?
It's a fun game. We did a live stream of the game. We played it a few times with friends, especially during the testing phase, and it is a fun game to play. And again, it is more fun with chips if you play it. So if you have chips, play it with chips. That is the fun way to do it. Whether you get our chips or some regular chips from Walmart or something like that, or your general retail store, that adds a lot more intrigue to the game. But you don't have to play with that. The main rule set does not include chips, and we have a section that talks about how to add the chips in. So you don't need to do it.
Yeah, you're talking when you described the Imperial credits and all that. I definitely got more interested in hearing your description. I'll say that because I could kind of imagine myself playing the game with the Imperial credits. That got me more interested. But yeah, there was a comment here earlier about the Vader. P Rockzilla says he would like to like a better image for Vader, kind of hard to make out from a distance. So let's see, I'll pull that. Because Vader is, I guess, at a distance, right? He's a lot smaller than say just his
doing the hand clutch. He's doing his horse choke. But I mean, I totally agree that these are. I love Luke for sure. We've already adjusted Vader once because the ring is hard to center.
And Ethan, when we were doing a group therapy a couple weeks ago, someone made a similar comment about the Chewbacca, saying that it was hard to tell or see.
Yeah.
Now I understood it for sure. I definitely got where they were coming from, but when I looked at it, I immediately, okay, Chewbacca. But I knew what they meant, where it's kind of like, you're taking a moment, and so I don't know, but I think you're right. Luke looks killer. The Stormtrooper looks killer. It's just always good to get feedback. Good, better, and different.
Something like people want this stuff, and there's enough interest. Just send me personal messages or comment on our page or comment to these guys' page and just let us know, because I can go through and it's not horribly expensive to have somebody design the chip, the center of the chip for us, and do like a really cool ink drawing or something like that. That's like really old school. Again, like more like old European style poker chips, and then do like a solid ring versus the white and colored ring. We could do a solid color instead. So I mean, I've thought about doing all of that, but I'm not going to go through with it unless there's enough people that really want to buy some chips, because otherwise it will waste money. But we could make it. I would say we could make it look better for sure.
It's crazy that how much it costs for a prototype. It's amazing how much sunk cost there is all up front to run the set for them to set up. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because they have to buy a lot of extra material to go through the process of the engineering. Even though they have our CAD, the engineering of the box design was very, very expensive to create from nothing. If we had gone with something that was just off the shelf that anybody could have bought, that was just your average Chinese quality or something like that, then that would have been easy. But we don't do things easy here. We had to design the box from scratch with box joints instead of chamfer joints and all that kind of stuff, to make it that luxury quality. And they had to buy a lot of extra material. Plus, we decided that we originally wanted to do it in walnut, so we had to buy walnut wood in sheets, which is very expensive. So it was a whole process to get the prototypes made.
But the walnut was that a walnut ply or solid walnut?
Solid walnut.
Wow, yeah.
Those boxes are solid walnut. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
That was the original plan. So we're still going to stay with hardwood, but we're going to go with oak, and then we're going to stain it just a little lighter. I like the dark finish, but you can't see the wood grain. Like, I feel like I lost my walnut with how dark they stained it, and like that was a total waste of money. But I mean, it's still awesome wood. But we're going to go with a little bit lighter stain, and we're going to go with oak to reduce the price. That's how we got the price down a little bit more. Was just to switch up the wood. But again, we don't want to go with plywood. We don't want to go with unnatural materials and stuff like that and just do veneer. We wanted it to be where you could say this is the ultimate in luxury. If you're going to talk to somebody about it and you're going to bring it out and play it, you should know and they should know. You should feel it that this is the best of something that you can get.
Right.
Hey guys, if I can interrupt for a second, I have to hop off.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make a suggestion, Ethan, like just my own personal about I would love a McQuarrie X-Wing model. Like, there's nobody making them, and we have been hunting. Jason and I have been hunting for one for a while. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you, and if you ever think about it, Keep it in mind.
I have thought about it. I've thought about McQuarrie concepts. I think they're really, really cool. I think the only difficulty is there's just not a lot of reference to them.
Right.
But I also have dug into the
take
research.
creative liberties there.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess that's true. Nobody can yell at me for having
Right.
a rivet in the wrong spot.
Perfect. Exactly. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there to you.
Okay.
And thank you. I have to run. So thanks for talking to me, Ethan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris.
I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night, Chris.
Yeah.
Night.
Yeah, so this has been a great conversation. Ethan, maybe before we wrap up here, maybe we can talk about what's next. What's in the pipeline for you guys? What's going on?
Absolutely. So we are currently working on the shuttle Tidarium with its two different kind of base setups. One is going to be like a diorama with the door open, and we're going to include figures of Vader and Palpatine and some soldiers, so that you can create that scene from the film when it's landed. I think that's on the Death Star. So that's going to be version 1, and then version 2 is basically you just take all those figures off, and then you get another topper to the base that just pins in, and it's a star field, and it has a hole in the center of it, and then you can just screw in your pole and mount it in flight. So that gives you the ability to do two different versions, either a landed version of the shuttle or a in-flight version of the shuttle. And that'll have a full complement of lighting effects, animated neon in the back for the engine, all that cool stuff. So that's coming up maybe November. We're just have to see how the Tantive goes. Because again, I don't want to flood the market with too much stuff for people to pay for.
Yeah.
But we know that people like that one, so that's coming up. Justin is finishing a non-Star Wars model for Cowboy Bebop, which is an anime series that's about to be live action. So we're doing a ship and character from that series. So that's going to be available for DIY 3D printing as well as production in, I think, 1/48th scale. Yeah, 1/48th scale. And we might do like a chopped off version of the ship with the character in 1/8 scale as a statue, where you could get, the cockpit and, be a cutaway or something like that. So you could still get some of the ship, but it would make a nice little diorama piece. There's the.
Yeah,
I think this is good. This is such a fantastic. Look at the GIF.
I know, that's what I'm laughing at. And then there's this is the more elaborate base.
Yeah, so we're just going through and tightening up the accuracy. I got some great reference from a close friend. So we're doing some additional work on the wings and some additional work on the body a little bit. And then I just have some details that need to be figured out. And then it's just engineering. That's all that's left, is the figuring out the cuts for the castings. So there's not too much left to it. Not too much. It's just a matter of, I've been incredibly swamped with getting all of this stuff out. So I haven't actually worked on it in a couple of weeks. So
40 inches tall. Wait,
36 inches tall, I think. 36 with the wings open. That's studio scale.
Yeah,
this is 48, which is studio scale. But when it's closed like this, it fits on a shelf. So the base, again, to fit on a shelf is only like 12 inches wide, and I think 14 inches long. Wow. So if you display it like this, it'll fit on a shelf coming out at you. Or you could rotate it, close it up, and then put it the other way, and it would still fit on the shelf.
Another fantastic touch on the base. Love it. Love
Thanks.
how the base is black and you get that nice little Death Star feel to it. This is going to be a home run. This one is, I think, people are going to go bonkers for this.
So the Lambda, the Cowboy Bebop, and I cut you off when you were talking about the Cowboy Bebop.
And then we've got some Bad Batch diorama figures that are coming out in 1/8 that we're working on. We previewed that Luke statue, and we're reworking that a little bit because the emotion isn't right coming through. So that statue will be released. I'm not sure how long that's going to take on the figures, because we're going to do two different versions on that. We're going to make it to where you can buy a kit, or I haven't decided whether we're going to release for 3D print. 3D printing is going to be here and there, and the reason why is because people steal 3D prints and sell them, or just give them away on dark web forums. And we had so much stuff stolen last year when we were releasing everything for sale for 3D print that I found a website that somebody made where they stole all of our renderings and all of our files and were selling them as their own website. And I was just appalled. It's awful. So if you haven't seen stuff that's 3D, that's why we're not selling the AT-AT as 3D prints. That's why we're not selling the new Blockade Runner as a 3D print by itself without anything, just releasing it. It's because people steal stuff. And I'm just not going to let it happen. I would rather lose the profit than have the hard work go to all these random nobodies. Like if you want something, pay for it. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the figures yet as far as 3D printing stuff goes, but we're definitely going to do, full painted versions, casted versions and stuff like that. And we're hoping to try to, work our way into doing some more figure stuff in our scale where we can do some fighting. Like I'm doing a Darth Maul fight scene from the comic series, for example, because he had a lot of storyline in the comics and he had his own line of comics and there were some interesting fights there. So we're going to do a fight scene in 1/8 for that. I'm going to pull a lot of figure stuff from comics because they're not represented barely at all, like Dr. Aphra and stuff like that. So there's some figure stuff that we're working on. Star Destroyer is something that we would like to do. It's probably not going to happen until next year, but we have a good model. It is just not castable, if that makes sense. I found somebody, because I wasn't going to make it. That would take a year. But I found somebody who had a really, really good model that was highly accurate to a Rogue One Star Destroyer. It's made for rendering and for like more game style than it is, even though it's fully detailed, it's just not, it's not a moldable model piece. So we have to go in and we have to recreate that as actual pieces. There's lots of backsides of things missing. It'll be a lot of work, but I always wanted a big Star Destroyer that's done right, and I think we can do one. I think the standard size is it's somewhere around 32 inches or something like that long. And that's what we would be going for. And then figure out how to include all the fiber optic. Again, include everything that you need to be able to light it up and do all that stuff. So that's coming. And then we go back to Snowspeeder, ATSTs. I really want to do a 1/12 ATSTs because that would be so cool to look at. I don't care that it's not a studio scale, but that's the size that you want to see when you look at an ATST. Yeah. It's 18 inches tall. So I want to make those in both ESB and ROTJ.
Nice.
And then aside from that, we're starting a third company for original artwork. We're going to get into some fantasy stuff for figures. So hopefully that'll start next year. Try to do some original pieces that we can actually broad spectrum market or do some Kickstarters for or something like that. So that'll be happening. Yeah. So
that's pretty well. You got quite a bit of ambition there. That's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make a go of, especially with the official, the third company, which could be what we call official. I would love to make a go of doing this for a living. So you got to get out there and put your hand in a lot of different pots to do that.
Yeah. Definitely going to do that. But I think I think tonight's talk was great because we don't do a lot of sort of informative stuff to when we're shining light on something or showcasing something. And I think this is one of those ones where it's important to ask a lot of questions, get the feedback from you, get the word direct from the horse's mouth, so to speak. It helps clarify a lot for people who are apprehensive or unsure or don't want to really put their hand in that cookie jar just yet. But I think this clarifies a lot. And I think, the more we do this and the more we reiterate it and let people know what's happening, what they're getting and what's going on, I think that, I think we can, have a lot to look forward to moving forward with Merlin Models in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think we're going to come out with some videos here soon, just talking about quality. just like we did here, but we'll post it up on our page, just really highlighting all the stuff from the Walker as far as what you're getting in the kit and what separates it from everything else. Because it'll be the same for all of our models. We're not going to reduce quality for anything. So if we're using stainless steel and polyurethane for this, we're going to use that for that.
Right.
Just really set the tone for who we are and what makes us different.
Well, Ethan, really do appreciate you being on the show today. It's you know, really excited about these models that are coming out, and love all the details that you shared with us. Love your openness about everything. It's great. Everybody in the chat, once we got going, there was a lot of enthusiasm here. So
awesome, good.
Thanks. We hope to have you again on the show, and we certainly will be including all your announcements in our bi-weekly group therapy show. We've been doing that already, and we'll definitely continue to do that.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm happy to be on here at any point. It's fun to talk shop with people that are like you. You know,
right?
You don't get that usually. It's fun.
It is. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up here, folks. Ethan, just hang on until after the outro here. Thanks for everybody who joined us in the chat today. It was a good chat, and thanks to Jason and Chris for making the conversation really interesting tonight. So we'll catch you guys on Friday for group therapy. Bye.
Good night.